Ladies and gentlemen, the Premier League weekend has been and gone with the exception of the Brighton vs Southampton game, which I will review in a video I will put out tomorrow. There was plenty of goals, plenty of events and a lot of action. This video is going to be a Premier League Games 5 review. So, without further ado, let's begin. We start with Liverpool's 2-1 win over Tottenham Hotspur. Goals from Gini Wijnaldum and Roberto Firmino helped Liverpool to a 2-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. But it could have been so much better for the Reds. It's a great result for Liverpool, of course. It makes their record 5 wins from 5 games. They controlled the majority of the game, and other than conceding a last-minute goal thanks to Eric Lamela, the only criticism you can have is that they didn't score more. And that was down to either their final ball not being on point yet, or their shooting wasn't up to scratch either. It's another game where they have won without coming out of second gear, it seems. And you feel that later in the season, if they can start moving through the gears, so to speak, they are going to inflict some serious damage upon the teams they're facing. A Liverpool team in the second gear in the past would have probably lost games like this or any of the other teams that they've played so far this season. So that means there's definite progress being made here. As for Tottenham, back-to-back losses, and they didn't even look interested in this game. It seemed a very strange performance from them in which they looked nervous and most of their players looked unsure on how to cope with the Reds. Is there a right to be concerned yet for Tottenham? I believe there is. Hugo Lloris is possibly going to be sidelined for another few weeks, and Michel Vorm's performance did not fill me with any confidence seeing him out there. And I don't know about the Tottenham fans feel the same way or not, as he was probably at fault for both the Liverpool goals, to be honest. Champions League is also back this week. That's another concern for Tottenham, and they are in a pretty tough group. Also off-field issues such as the Harry Kane thing and a new stadium are possibly affecting everyone at the club. And of course no new signings walking through the door last summer may also be having some sort of effect on the team and the opposition they play, of course. So it will be interesting to see how Tottenham cope with this going forward. Next we come to Bournemouth's 4-2 victory over Leicester. Well, if you watch my preview show, to say that I predicted this result completely wrong would be an understatement. I predicted a Leicester victory at 2-1, and whilst Leicester did get the 2 goals, Bournemouth scored 4. A brace from Ryan Fraser, a penalty from Josh King and an Adam Smith goal all contributed to the Cherries' big win, whilst late goals from James Maddison and Mark Albrighton only acted as consolation goals for Claude Puel's side, who saw Wes Morgan being sent off midway through the second half for a second yellow card. It's a great result for Bournemouth, who had a great start to the season and have probably done better than many people predicted, along with Watford, of course. Also, considering the next run of games, they are all winnable. Burnley, Crystal Palace, Watford, Southampton and Fulham are the Premier League fixtures that Eddie Howe's side face before the beginning of November. Interesting times lie ahead for Bournemouth. As for Leicester, there's a little bit of concern about their recent form, but they should be okay going forward. They face teams that are either around them or predicted to be fighting relegation, with the exception of Arsenal and Manchester City. That is from now until the end of the year. The next game we come to contained an Eden Hazard hat-trick and a goal from Willian, as Chelsea was soared to the top of the table and kept their 100% win record this season intact. So Bamba opened the scoring for Cardiff before Chelsea and Hazard stole the show. I'm caught in two minds about Chelsea. Many people are only calling it a 2-horse race between Manchester City and Liverpool for the Premier League title, and many people seem to be sleeping on a challenge from Chelsea this season. I'm in two minds on Chelsea because I feel they have a chance of winning the title, and with the start they've made, they can only continue to build on from this. But at the same time, other than Arsenal, who are currently going through a rebuilding stage of their own, they haven't really faced a major challenge like either Manchester clubs or Liverpool yet. And only when they face them kind of teams can we really begin to predict where the Blues will finish this season. As for Cardiff, still no wins since returning to the Premier League, and things don't get any easier for them, as next week they face defending Premier League champions Manchester City. Next we come to a game that I may not have got the result right, but I did say that Wilfried Zaha would be the difference maker in this game, and on that score I was right. He scored the only goal of the game as Palace got back to winning ways against Huddersfield in a 1-0 victory. Now, for Palace, they've got a tough run of fixtures coming up around the end of October till the beginning of December. And between now and October, they face several teams that are either predicted to be around them or predicted to be finishing below them at the end of the season. They need to pick up as many points as possible between now and then, because when we get to the Arsenal game at the end of October, many people are seeing that run of fixtures as being a tough run, as they face many of the top teams in the division. As for Huddersfield, second season syndrome appears to possibly be kicking in for them as they're finding results hard to come by. They need to start picking up results fast and as soon as possible. Next we come to Leroy Sané, David Silva and Raheem Sterling, who all got on a score sheet as City continued their pursuit of Liverpool and Chelsea at the top of the table in a 3-0 victory over Fulham. It's a good result for Pep. It was to be expected, of course, and only slight concern about Sergio Aguero's injury slightly overshadowed a perfect day for them. Not much to say on City. They continue to march on and are still in pursuit of the teams above them, whilst for Fulham it's another case of mistakes being capitalised on by opposition, as they are finding out the Premier League and Championship are two very different games and they need to settle down quickly and put more points on the board very, very soon. Next we come to Unai Emery's Arsenal, who heaped more pressure on Rafa Benitez and Newcastle as goals from Granit Xhaka and Mesut Ozil claimed a 2-1 victory at St James's Park. Kieran Clark scored a late consolation goal, but by then it was too late. Another good result for Unai Emery as his rebuilding of Arsenal continues. The only concern would be losing a clean sheet late on, but Arsenal are slowly beginning to build something here in terms of how they're playing and on their results. As for Newcastle, alarm bells might soon be starting to ring. They should already be starting to ring slightly, but because they've had a tough start, maybe not quite yet. But in that tough start, they haven't shown a lot of positive signs within their defeats. Now that they have got a slightly easier run of fixtures, maybe things can begin to pick up for the Magpies. If not, then some serious questions need to be asked. Next, we come to Jose Mourinho's Manchester United, and after goals from Romelu Lukaku and Chris Smalling, they helped Manchester United to back-to-back victories in the Premier League with a 2-1 victory against Watford. Watford did half the deficit in the second half thanks to an Andre Gray goal, but they couldn't find the equaliser as Man United saw Nemanja Matic sent off in injury time for a second yellow card. It's a good win for United, and Watford will feel a little disappointed they didn't give a better account of themselves, especially in the first half. The jury's still out on both sides, to be honest. United's performance and predicted finish are still to be determined depending on how they fare against some of the bigger sides in the league. Whilst Watford, it's been a terrific start for them, but a loss here could see the wheels begin to come off a little. But we'll have to wait and see on that score. Next, we move on to the Sunday games, and Raul Jimenez scored the only goal of the game as a dominant Wolves side defeated Burnley by 1-0. Wolves play some really nice and attractive football at times, and they could have scored a lot more goals here, but poor finishing cost them a little. But they still managed to get the 3 points. Next week's game against Manchester United should make for interesting viewing. They play some positive football for a newly promoted side, and it's great to see. As for Burnley, alarm bells should be ringing. A dreadful start to the season, leaving them with only 1 point from the opening 5 games. Sean Dyche needs to get his team sorted and get more points on the board ASAP. And finally, Everton against West Ham finished with the Hammers beating the Toffees by 3-1. West Ham are finally up and running in the Premier League, and that's thanks to goals from Marko Arnautovic in the second half and a brace from Andrei Yarmolenko. It meant that Marco Silva has suffered his first defeat since becoming Everton manager last summer, and on the flip side, Manuel Pellegrini picks up his first victory as Hammers boss. It's a big result for West Ham, and hopefully for them they can now press on and try to make up for the poor start they suffered earlier this season. As for Everton, it was a shocking defensive display, but hopefully for them, they'll be hoping it's a one-off and that things will get back to normal next week. But it was a strange and shocking sight to see. And that rounds up the results from Game 5 of the new Premier League season. I will be reviewing the Southampton-Brighton game in a video tomorrow, as I've stated, so don't think I've forgotten about that. If you have any comments on who you were following this weekend, or who you support in general, or have any comments on who you think will be relegated, or make it to the Europa League or Champions League places, or even who you think will win the Premier League this season, feel free to use the comment section below. I'd love to read them and hear from you guys. Other than that, guys, if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. If you want to see more content like this, or if you're new here, then feel free to hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you all again soon in another video.